Hello and good evening and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm Stephen Brown and joining me is Jason Booker. We're here to talk all things Leeds United, and it's been a hell of a 24 hours. Just to kind of put you in the picture, so last night on our X feed we did a Twitter Spaces where I gave my thoughts about the Middlesbrough match. And to be honest, I was highly disappointed, as you would be if any Leeds fan watched that game. And I went to bed thinking, okay, that's bad, and we'll kind of I'll have a chat with Jason tomorrow about it and everything, and we'll see what we do for the rest of the transfer window. And then I woke up and the first thing I read on my phone this morning, Jorginho Rutter, release clause met, and he's on his way to Brighton. Cue absolute pandemonium. Rightfully so, in my opinion. It's pretty much an absolute disaster at the moment. I don't think 2 weeks ago, before we'd kicked a ball, we would have thought we'd have been in this position, 15th of August, where, it looks almost as chaotic as last season. Can you believe? Maybe even more chaotic, actually, when you consider the personnel we've actually lost. I don't even know where to start with you, Jason. Let's first of all, let me just get your thoughts on the game last night, first of all, and what you felt, mate, because you couldn't make it onto the Spaces last night, but what were your thoughts with that one?
Yeah, I've had a carnage 24 hours myself. Straight after the game last night, I was busy. I've been at a work meeting all day. I've literally 30 seconds ago stepped in the house. After driving back from Sunderland, 2-hour journey, I've stepped in through the door. I've said, right, to my missus, I'm straight off on stream. I'm really sorry. So yeah, I've literally been in the house less than 30 seconds. I've got no drink. I've not even had a shower. I feel awful. And the day in itself has been awful because I've been refreshing socials to kind of see what's going on. I had the misfortune last night of before going to bed seeing the David Ornstein post. So I went to bed on that after already feeling really irritated about the game. Sorry, I'll try and keep it pigeonholed to that for now because she asked me my opinions on that. We've seen that performance before, I would say, or maybe not exactly the performance, but the flow the game went. We started well. We had a couple of half chances. There were some okay moments. The opposition built into the game. Second half, we were completely non-existent. We had a mandatory, when it's going really badly wrong, Daniel Farke panicking and just making any old substitutions without any tactical thought or plan towards it. 5 changes all in one go. I thought there were flashes of moments in the first half of some good build-up play between Perrault, Aronson and Gellart. I thought they did okay. I thought Pat still looked injured. I thought he looked miles off being fit and ready to play. I thought Ampadu was really poor, if I'm honest, yesterday. I thought he had a really poor game. I thought Rothwell was okay in moments. Nice little touches around the corner. He's got the ability to kind of nick a ball away at the last minute and keep the ball ticking over. I thought he did okay. I thought the defence was horrific. Awful, mate. I've been quite open in my I don't want to say desire to see Wöber play, but I've been more positive than negative towards him. He's an international footballer, managed it at Bundesliga level. They wanted him back at Bundesliga level. I think he's going to be more than capable in that back line, but he didn't have a good game. But he was also the lightning rod for anything that went wrong. I saw people kicking off that he gave the ball away after Ampadu would give him a hospital pass. It was nothing to do with Wöber. Wöber would just shank in the clearance because Ampadu would put him under a load of pressure. The worst player on the pitch yesterday, really worryingly for me, again, was Joe Rodon. I thought he had an absolute stinker. His positioning was awful. His commitment was awful. His reading of the game, awful. That goal, people had taken the mick out of Wöber and his kind of breakdancing that he did to try and block the attempt. But he'd idly walked past Aronson, Firpo and Rodon before he got there to take that shot, had Dick still on his left foot, his weaker left foot. That's a right back. So, yeah, it was a mess, mate. The second half was as bad as any performance I've seen at home since Jesse Marsh. And it was only beaten for worst performance under Daniel Farke by the QPR abomination at the back end of last season. So that kind of, I think, hopefully runs over what I thought of the game.
Yeah, indeed.
No cohesion, no speed to the desperation from Farke. I thought looked really bad. He says that 8 changes was always running a risk. Well, Middlesbrough made 7, so I'm not really having that. The team that was put out yesterday should have been more than good enough to win that game. I'd have really, really liked Joseph to have started. I said that to you before the game started. I expected changes, but I would have really liked Joseph to still been at the spearhead of that attack. I don't think there were any benefit in taking him out. It's not like he's going to be tired. It's first game of the season, So yeah, that's my overall feelings, mate. I was gutted last night with kind of the whole overall feeling, and obviously leading into that news. Yeah,
doesn't get any worse, does it? Hello and welcome to everyone who's watching along. Kevin, hi mate. Gail, welcome along. Nige, yeah, it's been a rough 24 hours. Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you've said on the performance there. It felt for me like, I don't know, some kind of strange continuation from Saturday, except we were playing a better team. And I think you're right. Although there was a lot of changes made, you're still looking at Perot and Aronson. You're still looking at a lot of money on that pitch. And to not, I mean, that second half was, I mean, I at the end of the game, I was looking at going, are these guys playing for Farke? What is going on here? This is absolutely shocking. We found out today that, Farke said that the players knew about Rutter's kind of potential move out. Fair play to Rutter as well, still made him available. But let's have a look at it. I mean, Jorginho Rutter, I mean, he was the one who, at the start of the window, I wasn't worried about leaving. I never really thought we would lose Rutter until Somerville went. And all of a sudden, Somerville had a release clause that had been previously denied. We'd been told there was no release clause for Somerville before. It was, okay, there's a release clause for Somerville. Okay, and, we've lost, player of the championship last season. And we took it on the chin. I think, generally speaking, the fan base took it on the chin and went, you know what? He is a Premier League player. We understand how this works. We were hoping to keep him, but really we thought we probably won't. Gio Rutter's a different ball game for me because in some ways more important than Somerville. For me, he brought a smile back on my face after the relegation. I'm going to miss him so much. The personality is on every social media thing that Leeds do because of his personality. The way he plays the game is incredible, and he's also damn effective as well. He looks leagues above 95% of the players he plays against in the championship. For me, he was a real linchpin. He was someone we couldn't afford to lose. And release clause has done us again. Now, I know there's a lot of accusations being thrown about. The 49ers were heavily involved in that deal. Orta was wearing the 49ers jersey, if we remember when they signed the deals. How much did they know about this release clause? A release clause that's £5 million above what you've spent on the player. We get, if you get relegated, players have relegation release clauses where, generally speaking, you're going to get them for a lot cheaper. But, I mean, when this news came through, Jason, I just, it's just, I mean, on the back of a defeat like that and the start to the season like this, and the fact that we've lost Archie Gray, Farke said it in the press conference today, we've lost the best young player in the league. We've lost the best player in the league. We've lost probably the person that will be the best player in the league this year. And we've lost one of the best midfielders, the forgotten man, Kamara, as well. I mean, This is a disaster. Jason, this is an absolute mess. And what have we replaced it with? A loan deal for a guy who, to be fair, yes, he's got different attributes to Kamara, but is he better than Kamara? I don't think so. Different type of player, I get it. But for me, it's not an improvement on Kamara. Rodon was here last year. We know what that's about. That's kind of bringing your team up to the same base as last year. That's not an improvement in any way. That's just getting it up to that level and getting that sewn up. What else have we done? Jayden Bogle at right back. Now, there's elements of his game that's going to be better than Archie Gray, but I would obviously prefer to keep Archie Gray than have Jadon Bogle. We know it wasn't possible, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just looking at it going, we're massively weakened. Farke couldn't get us up last year with Somerville, Rutter, Nonto, Pirro, all these players. How is he going to do it this year? How are we expected to and he's admitted today we're not favourites anymore. We're nowhere near favourites. We're not favourites anymore. Schmodix is going to Ipswich now.
Yeah.
I know fans today clamouring for get Schmodix in.
It is an interesting one. They've reacted quickly, Ipswich, because I think the news that's come out today about Rutter has made them make that move. I do.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Thank you so much for all your comments, by the way, guys, and we will try and get to them and pick them up because there's some really good comments in there. I've been just idling over them while you've been chatting. I'm kind of stuck in a real confusion with everything that's going on at the moment because I have been quite staunch in my defence of the 49ers. You know, the previous ownership did what they did. I think they were arrogant. I think they didn't believe there was any world in which we went down, and then we did. I think certain release clauses, such as this one with Rutter's, makes perfect sense of an arrogant ownership where they've thought to themselves and they've been able to say to Jorginho, and Jorginho and his agent at the time will have been well within his rights to say, look, I want a release clause for relegation in my contract. And they will have thought, well, fine, we'll do it at 40 million quid. We'll make sure that we make some profit on what we've paid or we could potentially pay because we're not going to go down anyway, so it's not a problem. Yeah. Then when we have found ourselves in a situation where we have gone down, we're now in a position where, well, nobody wanted to take a risk on him last year because he weren't worth the 35 million that we paid. We paid for potential. And then over the year that's just happened in the Championship, we've seen potential. And that's why Brighton are prepared to pay 40 million quid. They started at 28, went to 35, and now it's ended up at 40. And they're going to buy the player that they want because he is. Like, as much as some fans want to make out like he's not, and opposition fans more than Leeds fans, that he's not worth 40 million a year because the club's prepared to pay it. Dortmund were prepared to pay 30 million a year ago. So it's a silly notion to think that the 49ers have not had any involvement though. And I'm coming more and more around to that way of thinking. God, will you put the FPL banner in the tag, Brownie? Because I can see Downsy popping off. I can see Chris popping off. Like, Jesus Christ.
There we go. It's a fantasy football code to join. There we go.
It's coming. It's coming. I'm in flow here, right? Anyway.
I'll pop it up a few times through.
I can just see it flashing up in all angles. But yeah, we're naive to think that the 49ers have not had any part in this Jorginho deal. They're now making out like they're not part of any release clauses. Well, hold on a minute, 49ers. If you're not part of any release clauses, then why did Archie Gray have a release clause in a contract that he signed only last January when you were in full ownership? So I'm not having it. I can buy it with the Somerville deal.
I'd forgotten about that.
I can buy it with the Somerville deal, but I can't buy it with the Jorginho deal or with the Archie deal. We know with Archie. I'm absolutely heartbroken when it comes to Jorginho Rutter, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm anything otherwise. I could make my peace with Somerville. I could even make my peace with Archie Gray because it makes sense. It made business sense. It made, development sense for him. He's a generational talent, blah, 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 blah. Nonto, not bothered. Jorginho Rutter, he's special. Not only his talent, but the way that he carries himself, the way that he kind of always felt like he understood Leeds. I would say he probably gets that and feels it with us more than Rafinha. And I was absolutely gutted over Rafinha, but again, with Rafinha, you could make it make sense. We did expect it because things had gone so south. He wasn't going to stay again for another year under Jesse Marsh, no. But this just stings. It stings a lot. I am in a lot of pain with it, and it's really hit me. Like some people that I've spoken to today have been, well, it doesn't just take one team to make a team. And, you had you down as the best squad in the division 2 weeks ago, blah, 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 blah. I do believe that losing a player of the capabilities of Jorginho Rutter makes that difference. I think he elevates any squad in this division so much. You don't see a talent like him. And I've compared him with Adel Taarabt before. When QPR got promoted under Neil Warnock, Adel Taarabt completely carried that team. He had no right with the talent that he had to be anywhere near the Championship. Jorginho Rutter's the same, totally different attitude, but totally same kind of prestigious talent that you just don't get in the Championship. So, does he deserve to play in the Premier League? Yeah, absolutely he does. His potential is through the roof. That doesn't mean that I'm any less gutted. And it means that the recruitment, or the lack of their recruitment that we've done, and you mentioned some of the names, it becomes even more telling. Yeah, the lack of deals that we've done, or the where we've spent the money and what we've done. I saw somebody put a comment about Joe Rothwell being on the bench for Southampton last year. I think that's okay that he's now part of our squad, because it goes from the weekend that he's probably going to be on the bench as well. But it does leave a gaping hole in our midfield for somebody that can progress the ball, that is capable of playing 46 games. Because we what else are we meant to think other than that Rothwell isn't that guy? He didn't do it for Bournemouth week in, week out. He didn't do it for Southampton week in, week out. Both of them have not wanted to take him into a Premier League squad. So he's a big part player in a team that is going to be competing for automatic or playoffs. And I'm okay with that. When we signed him, I was okay with him being a loan option. An option in on loan that was a squad player. So, but it needs to be backed up with another deal, another signing. And I'm just really concerned that I text you this morning and said, it feels like this is the moment where we hit the point where we're back to before Bielsa. That's what it feels like for me. It feels like all that work, all that love and joy and everything that we got to enjoy has finished with this Jorginho Rutter deal. Yeah. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but that's how I feel today.
I really felt that today. I really felt there was a realisation where it was like, we've had our chance, we've had our shot at glory, and now we're on that. We've reached a peak, which turns out was a 9th place finish in the Premier League, and it's just a slow decline back to where we were before. I've been looking at social media because Calvin Phillips is going to Ipswich on loan. And do you know what, Jason? I was just reading through some of the Ipswich fans' comments and how happy they are, how excited they are, how big of a deal. And they've got the manager in place, Kieran McKenna, who's proving to be an unbelievable coach, manager. And I wouldn't be surprised if they stay up, Jason. I really wouldn't, because I honestly really think I would not be surprised if they stay up. And just looking at how kind of happy they are and how kind of excited they are for the new season, and it takes me back to
killer, isn't it?
We went up with Bielsa. We had that. We were there 3-4 years ago, or whatever. And you look at it now, and it's. I mean, you know me, I was getting frustrated. I said to you a few days ago, I was getting frustrated with the lack of action in the transfer window, especially since the Somerville deal. It's like, well, hello, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And now this is just a hammer.
Let me just pick out a couple of these comments, because I can see Jason's comments really interesting. 2 weeks left before we should judge them then. It doesn't make sense to asset strip, is basically what he's saying a little bit further up. I have said exactly that all the way through to this point. Right, I completely agree with that. They're a venture capitalist company. It makes no sense for them having us in the Championship. They need us in the Premier League to be able to sell at the value that they want to sell. Right, I completely agree with that. The problem is, though, Jason, is that the communication is horrific. They've got a fan base that is, I'm going to say, volatile. Yeah, like our fan base is massive highs, massive lows, very little in between, right? And the facts are is that you're telling us information, no release clauses. They'll be the last one. This deal with Red Bull will do this for us, blah, 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 blah. And we're losing all of the players. I'd rather come out and say, look, we've got a major FFP problem because we missed out on promotion last season. We're going to go for promotion again, but the facts are is we're going to have to do it within confinements. The likelihood is you're going to lose all your best players. Just tell us. We're going to fight the hardest bargain that we can, but the fact are they're probably going to all leave. Yeah, don't make it out to us like this Red Bull deal could be the difference between us keeping a player and selling a player, and then sell all the best players. It makes no sense. You're just asking for a problem. And you guys all know that I come and watch us regular. Browney will back us up. I have defended them to the hill with pretty much everything, and I'm finding it now impossible to do that. Because the communication has been so misleading. The fact that they've been misleading local journalists all the way through as well doesn't make it any easier. I feel so sorry for Nancy, because she's been getting pelters from Leeds fans because she's not Adam Poe. She's never going to be Poe. Phil Hay, sorry. She's never going to be Phil Hay. But they're not giving the local journalists anything. And when they are giving them it, they're giving them misinformation to misdirect us as fans. And I'm not going to say now 49ers out, they're the worst ownership ever. They're not. They're far, far from it. But they need to understand the landscape of what they're dealing with us as fans way better than what they've done. Way better. And if they end up this window, I think there's going to be a lot of action over the next 2 weeks. I do believe we will see deals. There has to be. There has to be. But if there's not, there's going to be hell to pay. I mean, I already think Farke's now, and I'm sure we'll get on to this, 1 or 2 bad losses over this next week away from being literally lynched. I think he's teetering. He needs to win at the weekend. And like I say, I know we'll come to that. But half of the problem that he's dealing with is because of this kind of tension that we've got as fans because of the 49ers. They're not helping him. So, yeah, Calvin's a great signing for Ipswich, and Ipswich have reacted to this Schmodix. I feel sure that we'd have gone, right, here's your 12 million or 15 million, whatever they wanted. We need him. And Ipswich have gone, oh, God, we wanted him for 10, but now we're going to have to pay 12. I think that's exactly what happened. I don't think he's a great sign for Ipswich, Browney. I don't. I think he's a top championship player. I don't think he'll be the player that they're going to hope that he's at 29, turning 30, no resale value. I don't think there's a few negatives to signing Sammy Schmodix, but for us, given the fact that we're going to be 40 million down and we desperately need a replacement, he'd have been a good signing at the Championship. I don't think it's a great signing for Ipswich, personally. Just putting that out there.
But I mean, the recruitment now, everybody knows we're desperate. I mean, everybody knows we're desperate, and we have got a bit of money in his pocket, you would think. I mean, it's not a great negotiating kind of position to be in, is it? 2 weeks before the window, teams can just go, well, how desperate are you?
Yeah.
How desperate are you?
No, you're spot on, and that's the position that we've now put ourselves in. Some of that is out of their hands because we have to be a bit more reactionary, because we're working on the back of release clauses and wanting to keep as best players. And when things like this happen, it changes overnight, doesn't it? I'm not having this notion that we now just should slander the 49ers as a recruitment team or the recruitment team that we have. It's too quick to forget what great work they did last summer. And I'm not having that. Pretty much every deal that we did last summer, bar the odd one, you could say Jed Spence, and maybe you could throw Pirro in there as well. But on the whole, the recruitment policy was good last summer. I don't think the recruitment's been bad this summer. It's just not been enough. Cairns is a nothing deal. It's third choice keeper. Jayden Bogle, any fan that knows football would have said, yeah, that's a top Championship right back signing from a relegated Premier League team in Sheffield United. Joe Rothwell as part of the squad makes a lot of sense. Joe Rodon on permanent. Joe Rodon has rejected Premier League interest to come to us. He could have gone to Ipswich. He could have gone to Leicester, and he didn't. He came down to the Championship with Leeds. I'm not ready to throw Joe Rodon into the bin. No, far from it. He's a great centre back. He's just having bad form. What I've seen of players like Joe Rodon and some of the worrying, alarming signs from the beginning of this season, it worries me bigger picture. It makes me think management change in another 10 games. Then who do you bring in? Then you bring in a manager in that's not selected any of these players, and all that starts all over again. That's what worries me more than Joe Rodon having a bad game or Joe Rothwell not being the standard to start week in, week out. You know what I mean?
Well, you look at someone like Rodon as well, and what was he told to sign for us ahead of Premier League clubs? Because he turned down Premier League clubs to sign for Leeds United, and when he signed on that dotted line, we've let 3 first-team players go, not including Archie, Kamara, Rutter, Somerville, gone. What's Rodon thinking there? He's thinking, what was I thinking here? I could have been at Ipswich, I could have been at Southampton, wherever. I could have been in the Premier League. I've committed to this club. I mean, maybe his head's scrambled. Maybe that's impacting him now. Maybe he's thinking, what on earth have I done here? I've pulled a clanger here.
I definitely think there's a part of that. I thought about that with Verber and Aronson last night. They've both pledged the future. Rutter then drops this bombshell before the game. All hell breaks loose on the pitch last night. The performance is absolutely woeful, and they're stood there thinking, well, they had such a great season last season. I've come back, and this is what I'm seeing again. I can't buy the opinion of any fan that is completely dismissive of what them two did last summer. I've got my opinions on Verber. bit ratty, but Brendan was well within his rights to do what he did. Well within his rights. The club was a mess. We had no manager. We had no ownership. There was so much going on. And he had opportunity to go and play Champions League football and keep his full money. Like, he ain't got a problem for me. But what must he be thinking last night? What must he be thinking? Like, I'm here again.
Well, I think it got harder for Aronson as the night went on as well. I think he started, bright spark. He had that moment on Saturday where he could have scored the winner. He missed it, and when he came off last night and very little impact later on the game, you just think, what is he thinking? He was playing the Champions League last year.
And he doesn't deserve to play Champions. He doesn't deserve to play Champions League football. No. He is now having to kind of humble himself a little bit and fight. Yeah. But he's put his flag in the ground and said, right, look, I'm prepared to deal with this, or prepared to put up with a season of second division football. However you want to kind of look at it, we have to remember where we are. And I just think he just must be thinking, oh God, this is exactly the same as what I left. I seen somebody put a little bit further up about, do I think that we waited on purchase to see exactly who leaves first? That's fine. But we were told that we'd be 6-7 weeks ahead of what we won last season. If that was the plan, tell us that. Yeah, don't make out like you're 7 weeks ahead or whatever they said. And say that it will be towards the end of the deadline. I could get on board with that, right? Me and you have said, based on everything that we've heard, we have to be front and centre from game week 1. One league game and one cup game in, we're already now kind of by Daniel Farker told we're not favourites anymore. We shouldn't be anyway. So now we're in exactly the same position that we were last August, Browney. Exactly the same position.
And it's 17 days till the transfer window closes. Let me just show you this. 56% of the goals Leeds United have scored under Daniel Farker have either been scored or assisted by players that are no longer in the club. Can't see it because that bloody banner. But basically, nearly 60% of the goals from last season are now out of the squad. How do you replace 60% of your goals in 15-16 days left of a transfer window without it being pure desperation? You ain't going to get Somerville. You ain't going to get Rutter. You're not going to get anything near that level.
No, you're not.
Where's this heading? This to me is heading backwards. We have gone backwards because of this now.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I mean, look, some of this is what happens with missing out on relegation. We were very, in the market last season, very strong in keeping them players, keeping Jorginho Rutter, keeping Somerville, keeping Nonto. We really stood on and we're like, no, we're going to keep these because they're going to be what gets us out of this division. So to expect to keep them into a second season is, it's probably not realistic. I just didn't think anybody would spend the money that they would need to get Jorginho. That's where my head was at. I thought Somerville and Nonto would always go, and then Archie was a potential. I expected the release. I know we spoke about it off air a couple of weeks ago. I think we kind of predicted that the Rutter release clause would be 45, 50 million, and it's coming a little bit less than that. And I think Brighton have kind of just got to the point where they're like, we want to make this one move. So yeah, but there's no way of replacing that. And the worry is Daniel Farker the man to put players together that are not technically brilliant as individuals, like Somerville, like Gio, and make them get promoted? That's the question. And that's why there's so much worry, because there should still be enough in this squad for a top manager. And I'm not saying Daniel Farker isn't, but let's just say that he's not for a second, for a top manager to get us promoted as one of the top two. There's still enough in this squad. And with the additions that we're probably going to get before the end of the window, the question is that man Daniel Farker? And that's where we're not sure, because everything that has been good about this side from the tactics that we've watched has come through individuals, not through the system. None of it, that's harsh, but very little feels like it comes through the system, especially going forward. Defensively, structural, periods of last season in possession, we controlled games. But when it came to us scoring goals, they were always through Jorginho Rutter and Chris Somerville.
Yeah, but look at last night though, Jason. He plays Gelhardt and Aronson almost as like out and out wingers to replicate Somerville and James or something. It's like, Gelhardt out on the right wing. I mean, he's not going to do it there. He's just not going. You're not even giving him a chance. And I think you've got to be kind of, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to get stuck on that route. I mean, Gail makes a great point here. Meslier will be more nervous now as our main goalkeeper. I mean, that's a problem.
He's not good enough.
That's a problem we've just forgot about now because of all this crap going on. We've got a glaring issue with Meslier in net. I mean, that is one of several issues that we've got to try and sort out. They're not even doing anything about Meslier, by the way.
Darlow as well last night. I mean, I don't think Darlow could have done too much more. But again, every shot we faced, nearly every shot we faced, he did well when he went down to the feet of Cobby Jones, I think it was. He went down well and Jones dinked it over him and it went into the side netting. But apart from that, everything that Darlow faced went in near enough. And the same went for Meslier at the weekend. Yeah, I mean,
such a glaring hole in the side, and how can it not be looked at as like a priority? I just don't get it.
And Hinchcliffe talked utter BS as he always does all night. But the one thing that he did say in the whole night that I agreed with him was that he's not convinced that Elland Meslier is a very good goalkeeper. He said that live on air in the first half, and he said that he was protected by a fantastic defence in front of him last season, which is fact. It's absolute spot on fact. So, and now that we've got I mean, last night, all three goals looked just like Jesse Marshall. Just like ball up the other end, counter, one pass, splits us completely open, and they score. Verba passes the ball into Pat. Pat's weak as piss in the midfield. He should do better. One pass, splits Ampadu and Rodon open, and they're in. The second goal, what is Pascal Struijk doing? Chasing a lost ball into the left-back spot where there already was somebody. One ball in behind, they score. Honestly, it was an embarrassment defensively. And, Corberan will take us apart at weekend if we play like that.
Well, I mean, I watching it and there were signs of it in the first half. Middlesbrough just pinging it around. But Jason, I said this on Spaces last night, I'm watching the way Middlesbrough pass and move that ball, particularly second half, and we just don't have any of that. We don't have any of that. The way they were knocking it around, the way players make space, the way players compose themselves on the ball, and we just didn't have any of that. We didn't have any of that. It was so bad.
That were a weak Borough side last night as well, by the way. When I saw the team and I saw Johnny Howson at centre-back, I saw Matt Clark at centre-back, who is gash. He's awful, right? He made us look silly last night as well. He's a terrible defender. I had no Latilla in the starting lineup. I was like, nice one. This should be a bit of a cruise. They had Josh Coburn up front, who's a League One striker, really. Scored one of the goals yesterday. He's never really done it at Championship level. He's a youngster there, probably at League One level at the moment. They did not have a great side out last night. And bar the first 15 minutes, when we didn't really create anything massive, we created a couple of half chances. They absolutely took us apart. They've not won a game at Elland Road in 13 years, Browney.
They were all laying. They were giving it the all
Oh, yeah, they took the piss. They well deserved to win that game last night. It weren't even competitive in the second half.
I just want to bring this up here, Jason. Struijk still concerns me. I don't buy that he's suddenly improved again. Well, this is a big concern as well. Defensively, Bogle looks a bit suspect defensively. Firpo looks suspect defensively. Struijk, you could argue, suspect. Rodon's had a shaky start. What's going on with Verba, we don't know. And the goalkeeper's terrible. I mean, what are we staring at there, Jason? What are we going to do? I mean, this is not a good base to build from, is it?
Jason might have been reading my socials, because I've been having back and forward ding-dongs with Leeds fans about Pascal. And because he's this kind of sexy pirate and, he's been with Leeds a while, he's a Bielsa babe. And, I think he just looks like a bit of a machine. I think he just gets away with murder. I think he's just one of them players that just gets away with... He just gets away with being dead average. Yeah. He just gets away with being dead average. And I mean, Verba's not been great during pre-season or last night either, obviously. So it makes my case for him starting over him difficult while he's not playing well either. But I just don't see it. I don't see it with Pascal. Outside of 10 games alongside Diego Llorente in the first Premier League season, Pascal Struijk has always been a bang average centre-back for me. I remember his debut when he came on at Cardiff and we ended up conceding 3 and threw a game away. That was his debut. I'm not saying he should be held to account on that, but he's never... I don't think he's ever stood out as a fantastic centre-back. And I'm not saying that we should now shoot him or put him out to dry or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But there's this kind of notion that he's not a problem, and he is. He is a problem. So, yeah, I don't know what the next question is, mate.
So we look at that. So the defence, problem. Midfield, I'm looking at midfield. I'm going, Ampadu, what are you doing, mate? He's dropping back into the centre-backs. He just doesn't look kind of what he was last year. You know, you're looking at a Rothwell, you're looking at Gruev. I mean, it's pretty uninspiring. They're okay players. They're okay. What they do is decent. But for me, you know, I mean, Kamara, I put a tweet out last night about Kamara because I think it was I think losing Kamara was so unnecessary. I think it was so unnecessary. He was, how many games did he play? What, 40 odd games last season or something?
I think he played every game.
He was, I mean, he was one of those players that the fan base were kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, like fine, he's not that good, he doesn't score goals, and this is how we judge his entire performance because he didn't take shots or score goals. You know, never mind the fact that he was unbelievable in possession. Very rarely you get Championship players anywhere near that level. Yeah, the player might have wanted to go, but hang on, I thought the 49ers sorted contracts. That meant that we dictated.
Well, there were no clause. We know there were clause.
No clause. We didn't make that much money. We didn't make double. It wasn't double. We made about three or four or something on top.
I can only imagine Daniel Farke agreed to that deal and thought that it was dispensable for someone else.
More fooled.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, the fan base deserves a little bit of criticism with this as well, because Kamara was so scolded by some of the fan base because he just didn't score in the season. And sure, he could have shot more at times. It's not his game. I was flicking through some highlights of last season. I think it was Bristol City at home, and he leads the pass on to the assist because he bullies somebody in midfield, turns a player inside out, and he just does so much unselfish work that unless you're looking for it, you might not always see when you're scrolling statistic pages. It is fantastic centre midfield, isn't it?
Do you remember Leicester away? Where we absolutely dominated Leicester.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Key man.
Yeah. Man of the match that day.
Man of the match.
Yeah.
And we're like, whatever. Just don't matter if he goes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Mate, it's been an absolute disaster of a summer in the perspectives of looking at it as a whole, and I'm really worried. I am really worried, and it's taken me a little bit of time to get to this point, but this has been a bit of a dagger. And look, we might go to West Brom at weekend and win, and we can start looking at positives and looking at potential incomings over this next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever's left. But I'm finding that hard to hold on to right now. I think we got West Brom at the weekend and lose 3-0. I think it'll be a comfortable. Yeah. I don't see a route back for Daniel Farke. I don't, and I know that it's not all on him. And some opposition fans will be looking at us talking about losing Daniel Farke and be like, "Are you all right? Like you're 2 games in."
They don't see the
bigger picture. Yeah, they don't watch this every week. I mean, it's 2 wins in 11 now. I think the overall feeling is real tense, real tense. He's got 1 or 2 games. I still think we're having a hangover, Bielsa. I mentioned it to somebody on socials earlier today, and I do think there is a certain. It just kind of hangs over us a little bit that we crave and yearn for that, and that football, and we're not going to get that again. We've got to get over it. I've got to get over it. So yeah, it's brutal, mate. I'm kind of scrolling Twitter at the same time, and
scrolling in it. It's just doom scrolling in it.
I'm seeing just Jorginho stuff, and it's just killer. It's absolutely killer, you know. So
he was. I mentioned it at the start of the stream. You know, after 2 horrible years in the Premier League that ended up in relegation, I was kind of just at my wit's end with it. I was just like, I just can't. I just hate football. And then the moment you saw Jorginho Rutter score that goal at Ipswich, you're like, wow. And it was literally all season, probably up to the hernia op, where granted him a bit of leeway for that after having an operation. And to lose that now, it just, the goal against Valencia in pre-season, he was the one that we were watching, and everyone was like, there was audible gasps every time he did something on the ball. And sat there, and everybody's like, oh,
we might not see another Jorginho Rutter at Leeds for another 20 years, mate.
Well, not on this trajectory.
We've been here before, you know. And we went through all the years. And don't get me wrong, we had Shining Lights, we had Jermaine Beckford, we had Robert Snodgrass.
Yeah,
you know, we had a couple. We did. We had Samu Saiz, who came in and gave us that. We had Pablo Hernandez before Bielsa, who gave us that little bit of something. But we didn't have a Jorginho Rutter. We didn't have a Rafinha. You know, and these are the players that we want to see as fans. You know, and yeah, it's just gutting. And like I say, it's all far easier to stomach if your ownership are doing things in the right way and communicating properly with us. I am not an idiot, and I am totally can understand a world in which missing out on promotion will cost you a player like Jorginho Rutter. What I can't get on board with is the way that it's communicated to us. You know, with no idea that was coming. You know, we were promised reinforcements, we were promised spending, we were promised the Red Bull deal meant this, and it just sucks, and it's making me worry about what's going on.
Well, for me, the only way we recover from this or kind of get any semblance of a plan forward is we've got to be super aggressive. We've got to spend the money. I want to see every penny of the Rutter sale reinvested. If that's Rowe, you get it done. If that's whoever else, just get it done. Whatever it is now, no pissing about, because there's 16, 17 days left. The only way I feel better about this situation, or even start to feel better or hopeful, is if there's minimum 4 players. Minimum 4. Varka said it himself. Fullback, centre mid, attackers. It's got to be done. Every position's got to be done, basically.
150 million, Browney, of incoming money.
It's mad.
The most in Europe.
That is mind-boggling. I mean, that really is mind-boggling. What is going on? You just can't help but feel what is going on, because we know there was about a £70 million bill, wasn't there, that had to be kind of recouped or something. You know, the Archie Gray sale. You know, and do you know what? That's tough to take, but we're big boys and we could handle it. And we understood, as devastating as it is to lose a talent like that. And it kills me every time I see on Tottenham socials some Archie Gray stuff, or you see little compilations of what he's up to. But I accepted it. The key thing is I accepted it because I believed what they told me, Jason. I believed what they told me when they said, that's it. We've had to make this sale by June the 30th to satisfy these financial issues. And that's it now. Now every penny's reinvested. We don't have, there's no pressure on us to sell anymore.
Yeah.
Went to Harrogate away, and it's like, you know, you've seen Somerville and all these guys think, oh my God, we might actually keep them. Our squad is so stacked, we're going to walk the league.
Yeah.
And then Somerville goes because he has a release clause. It's 25 million. It's less than we all thought. And then now this is just the hammer blow. And my worry is who's next. I mean, Farker said in the conference today, you know, basically hinting that there's other release clauses, there's other situations. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, who the hell knows who else could leave now? Who knows? I mean, you know, Ampadu. I mean, who else?
I mean, the thing is, if the 49ers back their man in Farker and we make a couple of signings, but the form continues, this season could be over and done with at game week 10.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how it feels. It could be over and done with. You know, especially if the season, and it probably won't, but if it pans out similar-ish to last season with Burnley and whoever dominating the top 2, it genuinely could be done by game week 10 for Leeds United, because, I mean, maybe we'll have a playoff charge to battle for, but we all know how that ends. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Forget it if it's playoffs with this club.
It's brutal, mate. It's absolutely brutal. I don't think he'll get sacked. I think they're right behind him, if I'm honest. But if that's the case, you need to bring in the players. You need to bring in the right players to make the difference in his system and in his team. You know, we did have a tricky start last season, and he pulled it round and he got some form, and then the run in January and onwards. I'm looking for crumbs of comfort, I guess, in what's going on. My real worry is this has been going on a while. You know, outside of a 4-3 win away at Middlesbrough when we were all over the place and won because of Somerville. And who was the other win in that 2-11? or 2 in 12, whatever it is.
I think it was another scrapey win, though, wasn't it? It was a very unconvincing. We came back from that international break, didn't we, in March or whatever?
I think we beat Hull at home.
Oh, that was really tense, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was in that run or not. Maybe it was. Maybe that was the first of them. But yeah, it's not been good for a while, you know. Oh, Norwich. It was Norwich. It was Norwich in the playoffs. Which we played great in. But Norwich were awful and then sacked the manager less than 24 hours later. So it's hard to know what really that means. So yeah, mate, I got an idea.
You know what? Do you know what it is? It's one of them days, isn't it? Supporting Leeds, where it's one of them horrible days. I mean, how many of these have we had in our lifetime, Jason? I mean, you can go back 20 years to the financial meltdown under O'Leary, and it's like these days, these horrible days where 3 or 4 things happen in one day that just absolutely wipes you off. I mean, do you know what? It's been on my mind all day.
All day.
All day.
Mate,
first day of my holiday, and I'm like stressed about this.
Outside of 3 seasons under Bielsa, and even they were turmoil. Yeah. In their own stage. I remember that first season with Spygate and whatnot. Yeah. Like, I couldn't sleep. Like, I thought we were going to walk, and even that were hard work. And then obviously the playoffs, and mate, yeah. So yeah, outside of them 3 seasons, even thinking back to League One and getting promoted against Bristol Rovers at home, 10 men at half time, 1-0 down. Just do it fucking simply, man. You know what I mean? just for once, just do it easily. But that's just not the way, mate. This club weren't made for them people, you know.
It's strange, isn't it? It's like I think what it is as well, because I think we were in a group with kind of other fans, and you know, we are the top of the tree in terms of league position out of those clubs. I think sometimes, you know, Chris and Steve, they kind of go like, "What are you on about? Every club has this, and every club goes." What they don't realize, the difference with Leeds is we've had a huge history where we've been at the top table for a long time. I'm always going to have a skewered view because I grew up supporting Leeds. They were Premier League, top 5 year in, year out. I supported them just when they'd won the bloody first division last time under Howard Wilkinson, Champions League semi-finals. You know, I'm from that era, so if we're not in the Premier League, we are underachieving. That's how I feel about it. But the thing is, it's backed up by the fact that, you know, look at the size of the club. Look at the shirt sales for a new kit. You know, and look at the attendances. Look at
I was poking fun at Downsy yesterday, tongue in cheek, because they had like 4,000 against Morecambe at home. They had 2 of the stands closed, and you know, yesterday things are not feeling too great before yesterday's game, by the way, and we still sold out 35,000 for a Wednesday night cup tie that was on Sky and all this kind of stuff. That's what we're capable of, and that is what this club will do most of the time. Outside of some really bad ownerships, this fan base will always do that, and the spotlight that comes with it is just so much more magnified. I think from time to time, Chris and Downsy especially, they think that we're being a bit almighty. I think they think that we're being a little bit arrogant. Most of it, I wish I could remove. I wish it wasn't like this. Like, I love the club, but other people, every fan base has people that love their club as much as I do, but the way that we have to kind of experience it is just so different. Like, it's just not the same as everyone else. I think there's a few select fan bases that are similar. I think Newcastle are very similar. Yes. Yeah, in the way that they have to kind of live and breathe football, and the things that happen to them, the relegation, Alan Sheeran taking over as manager, you know,
terrible owners, and Ashley,
Ashley, and all the fun and kind of stuff that comes. That only happens to clubs like Newcastle and Leeds. Yeah, it just is. It just is.
True, cursed, absolute cursed club. Yeah, this is going to be one of those horrible things now, isn't it? And like you say, tough game against West Brom, and it doesn't get any easier the week after.
The comments in the chat are just making me giggle. It's probably the most I've laughed all day. Jason's put, "Oh no, now Gail's leaving," and I just put, "Gail, have you now got a release clause?"
Gail, don't do this to us. Come on.
Yeah, Gail, come back. Don't go to Brighton.
Night, Gail. Thanks for tuning in. Anyway, we do appreciate it.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, so it's not going to get any easier. No, not with the games. Our run at the moment is tough. I don't buy into ever hoping that the team loses ever. Even if it means getting rid of a potential manager that you don't want to stick around. I don't think you should ever feel like that about, a game. It's going. A lot's been put into Daniel Farke, so the best solution for us as fans is that he goes to West Brom on Saturday, smashes them, shows there's nothing wrong in the background. Yeah. It makes players want to sign before deadline day, and we get the recruitment in that he needs, and he goes on a run and puts us right. I still think he's capable. I still can imagine him getting another championship job and getting another championship team promoted. I think he's got enough at this level. My worry is that when the pressure goes and the problems start arising at Leeds United, has he got it?
It's a different beast, isn't it?
It's just different. It's different to Norwich. Anybody would confess to that. I think even Chris himself has said that. It's different doing it at Norwich than it is to doing it at Leeds. So, yeah, worried. Saturday can't come quickly enough, but also wish I didn't have to experience it. That's kind of how I feel about Saturday at the moment. I'm like, I need it now because I need the next game. I'd love to see some sort of transfer news tomorrow.
Oh,
whoever, just to kind of lighten the mood for everybody. But I think it'll be next week.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be going to West Brom with what we got, I think. Well, I'm going to be out of action for probably just a little bit over a week, so there won't be any kind of match reviews or anything from myself. I don't know if, Jason, you got any plans to pop on or do anything, maybe with one of the boys. I think Chris and Steve did offer there.
I'd rather come on my own.
Yeah, I did say to Steve, no chance.
I will come on Saturday after the game. 12:30 kick-off in it, so what's that, 1:15, 2 o'clock. I probably can do 45 minutes, an hour, something like that. So I'll jump on Saturday. To anybody that wants to jump on afterwards, it'd be good to see y'all there. Maybe if Chris is around, I'll obviously let Chris do it. If he's not, I'll just do it by myself. Thank you, Jason. Hope for you too. It has been a little bit therapeutic. I've been kind of wanting to get this off my chest all day. I think you probably have as well. So.
Yeah, we were like chatting this morning. I think we could have done this stream at about 8 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, we could.
Like as soon as we did it. And Gary, to lighten the mood is spend some bloody money. Indeed, mate. Indeed. No excuses now. Well, we'll go again. Thank you, everyone who's commented and got in touch. It's absolutely flown. I don't know where that time has gone. It feels like we've been on about 5 minutes. It's another wild 24 hours as a Leeds United fan. I mean, God, what this club puts you through, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll be back again. Jason will be back at the weekend after the West Brom game, and we'll just see what we get. But thank you all for watching. I've been Stephen Brown. Alongside me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again shortly. Thank you for watching.